evening, ladies and gentlemen. The name of the book is Double Cross, and we are having a conversation with Sam Giancana, who is the nephew of Sam Giancana. Sam, I guess when we were talking earlier, when we last left, as they say, we're starting to get into some of the things connected with RFK, JFK, and of course Marilyn Monroe. And as you point out in the book, the mob did kill Marilyn Monroe.
Absolutely, she didn't. She was not a suicide victim, and she perhaps was, I think, the most tragic victim of all, because she was a person caught between factions. And we specifically talk in the book about how Marilyn's early days in Hollywood, her early relationships with Joe Schenck and Johnny Roselli, both men associated with the Chicago outfit. Once Marilyn got prominent and she was destined to become a superstar, she was used by the government, by the CIA, to compromise world leaders such as President Sukarno of Indonesia. She knew the kinds of activities the government was involved in. Subsequently, she becomes involved with Jack Kennedy, later Bobby Kennedy. She knows about the relationship between Sam Giancana and the CIA. So suddenly you have a woman who, out of desperation because of a deteriorating relationship with Robert Kennedy, she threatens to blow the lid on the whole damn thing. And the CIA and everyone around her obviously see the threat that she possessed, and ordered her elimination, put out a contract, as they had done before, and it was accepted by Sam. He sent his assassins to Los Angeles to murder Marilyn Monroe.
The CIA put out the contract, as they had done on previous...
Yes.
And then the other ones were, and I'm hoping I'm not missing them, they had done?
Obviously, they later on would do the same thing with Jack Kennedy, but in other countries, they put out a contract on Castro that Sam Giancana accepted. Trujillo of the Dominican Republic. He assisted the CIA in toppling the Iranian dictator at that time to bring in the Shah of Iran. So there are many different situations.
CIA needs it done clean.
Right.
They can't be involved.
Yeah. It may even be just a rebel uprising to help spur that group on to topple the government. So this was just kind of the same old thing, and unfortunately Marilyn was the victim, and we specifically say that she died as a result of the assassins inserting a doctored Nembutal suppository that was doctored with chloral hydrates and barbiturates. It concurs with a lot of the autopsy information, and it rendered her in a position that she couldn't be saved.
Did they also plan to hopefully implicate RFK?
Absolutely. That was Sam's particular desire. He had such a vendetta for Bobby that it wasn't good enough that he accepted the contract and wanted Marilyn Monroe murdered, but he chose the time. His assassins could have murdered Marilyn Monroe at any time, but why why have it done right as Bobby Kennedy had left earlier that night? It was obviously done to hopefully implicate him in the relationship, or obviously more damaging in the possible, his assistance in murdering her.
When your dad was telling you and giving you this information, he made it sound, and I'm hearing it from you, sound as if the CIA was an individual. It has had so many different heads and whatever, but is this the attitude that the way you read it, that permeates throughout the CIA, that we are above anything else?
Well, it certainly seemed that they were willing to have the attitude of the ends justify the means, and certainly at a point in time in the early 60s, a lot of these particular adventures went right up to the top. The planning went right up to the top of the organization. Later on, my uncle made it sound more that they were rogue elements of the CIA. That it wasn't necessarily a policy adopted by the whole organization. And I think that's the danger, is that now you have people who are influencing world events who are not necessary. It's not necessarily an administrative policy.